Hi, this video is going to show you how to properly package and ship a spent Candela die kit, either from a VBeam or VBeam Perfecta laser. As you know, that material, the waste die as well as the new die, is hazardous material or dangerous goods. So shipping it requires special license that you would need to get. If you do not have that license, make sure you contact me, Larry Smart, so that you can get the credentials you need in order to ship those legally. When working on a VBeam, you want to make sure that you keep the packaging material that comes with the die kit. If you didn't, that's not a big deal, but it definitely helps, makes things easier if you have the packing materials that you used, that you received the die kit originally in. What you want to do is you want to save the bag as well as the vermiculite absorbent. You should also receive from us over in 362 Fullerton, you should receive a dangerous goods shipping kit. That's a kit that we put together, and we send those out whenever a die kit gets ordered. It consists basically of a shipping carton, a box full of documents and labels and bags and other PPE that you'll need. And it also contains a bottle for draining the die into. Makes your life a lot easier, not having to scramble to find a container to drain the die into when you drain the laser. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And first we'll go through what's in the package. So I'm going to open that up here and kind of go through that for you. So the first thing you'll find at the top of the box is a checklist that shows everything that should be included in the box. So you want to make sure it's all there. So there it is, checklist, everything that's in it. So basically you're going to have some craft tape for taping the carton together. There's two different sizes. There's a longer one, which is 18.5 inches, and then there's a shorter one that's 16.5 inches. There's some red zip ties that we use for sealing up the bags that everything's bagged in. Some PPE, some gloves, your proper shipping name label. That's important. Some handling and some markings, some handling labels. So here is the hazard class label, which is a hazard class 3 flammable liquid. Some bags, your FedEx DG envelope, dangerous goods envelope, and more markings, some handling instructions, handling labels. Then you got this paper with the red and white stripes on it. So your dangerous goods declaration form needs to be printed on this paper, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Then you got some sorbents used to mop up any spills, drips, things like that. It's great to put these on the ground. I think your die kit comes with a Chuck's pad. That's great to use. It's actually better than these. But if the Chuck's pad gets saturated or whatever, you have these to clean up any spills. Those, if it's small amounts, an ounce or so of dye gets on those can go in the trash, just regular trash. If they get really wet, saturated, you want to package those up and ship those here along with the die kit. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on how to begin to package everything. So first you want to start out with getting one of the long pieces of tape. Now this tape has the adhesive already on it. It's dry, and so you'll need to get I get like a wet paper towel and use that to dampen the tape. So we'll start on the bottom of the carton. You want to make sure, it's very important that when you fold over the flaps on the carton that this seal is visible. That's important. They're going to look for that. That shows the test ratings, pounds per square inch, that the fiberboard box was tested at, to show that it's meets the requirements for the contents in there. So make sure that's visible. So take your wet paper towel and your long piece of tape, and you get that wet. And then just place that so that it's evenly centered along the flap. Fold it down like that. Then you're going to take a short piece. Again, dampen that with a wet paper towel. That's going to go on edge there, so it's perpendicular to the piece that you just placed across the center. Make sure it's centered. Like that. Fold it over this way. Tuck it under. I like to crease these at a 45-degree angle, and then just fold it over like that. So you should have a nice, very neat and secure edge along the entire edge of the box, so that there's no gap on the flap showing, nothing that can get caught on a conveyor or anything like that and tear the carton. And the same on this side. Then you have the bottom of your container ready to go. Okay. So as I said, you want to make sure you save the packing material if you have. If not, there's plastic bags included in the kit that you can use for this. But I like to use a small bag, and that's going to be used for taking your cop bottle. Make sure that it's got the plug in there. And then you should also have the little piece of wire that came with the cop bottle that you received from Candela. If not, there should be one. Actually, we'll make sure we include one in the kit as well. But that needs to go just as the way you received it. It needs to go underneath that clip to prevent the clip from being pressed in. That clip gets pressed in, the cork pops out, and it'll start to smell. And if they detect any odor coming from the box, they're going to have to emergency land the plane, and it's a logistical nightmare. It's a big bureaucratic mess. So make sure that little piece of wire is very important in there. That helps keep this sealed. All right. Next, we're going to put that in the small bag, and then you're going to take one of the red zip ties and you're just going to seal that off. Make sure it's nice and tight, so if that cork does come off, that any odor will be contained within the bag. Do the same with this and with the die cartridge, using the large bags provided in the shipping kit. You don't need to reuse the bags that came with the die kit. You can, however, the bags that are holding the vermiculite, you don't want to use those ones. We're going to use those a little later, maybe. These have the drawstring on them. Don't rely on the drawstring to seal the bag. Make sure you use one of the zip ties that is provided. The drawstring is not going to provide an adequate closing of the bag. So. And then any waste dye that you had drained in here, that also needs to come back to 362. 362, we have an EPA license, a site license for the proper storage of the dye. We're certified as a RCRA small quantities producer, and that we can store it on site. And then we also have an account with Safety Clean Harbors to come and periodically empty the waste container. We have a 16-gallon drum here. Empty that waste container and haul it away and have it properly disposed of, so that it's not an environmental threat or hazard to any employees that happen to work here. So, so once you have all those bagged, it's time to start putting them in the box. So we'll go ahead and start on that. Okay. So first thing you want to do is, I like to use the bag of vermiculite that's already there. It gets really dusty, and you want to make sure that you're wearing a dust mask. The shipping kit comes with a couple of those. I actually use them because of the COVID-19 thing. So you'll have a paper mask, surgical mask in the kit. It's important to wear that while you're handling the vermiculite. It's very dusty. You don't want to breathe that in. All right, so when you put this bag in, I like to fold it over the edge. These bit larger boxes doesn't really work. It's designed for this size box. However, this box is not adequate to ship the quantities that we have. One of the things you'll notice here is according to the UN number, or the markings on here, but that include the UN number and everything, it's good for 5.2 kilograms. We're above that. So you cannot use these boxes to ship your spent dye kit. This box here is good for 30.8 kilograms, 5-gallon paint can basically. So, okay. So once you have your bag in there, usually put about, make sure there's 3 to 4 inches of vermiculite in the bottom. First thing I do is I add the dye cartridge. Make sure that's set in there really good so that it's below the crease line of the flaps. Then I add the cotton bottle, and I make sure that's tucked underneath the dye cartridge. I kind of tuck it underneath here so that it's underneath, it's kind of protected by this top part. And then this will fit in there as well. Same area, right next to the cotton bottle. Again, make sure it's pushed down into the vermiculite far enough to where it's below this crease. So once you have those in there, now you want to take, should have some more vermiculite here. So one of these other bags, okay? And I want to top it off. I want to add enough in there to where I can't really see any of the things I just put in there. It'll be completely buried in vermiculite. Again, this is the part where it gets real dusty, and you want to make sure you're wearing your mask. Vermiculite's absorbent. It soaks up whatever moisture is around it and expands when it does so. So you don't want to get bits in your lungs. Okay, so twist that off. You can see the dust floating around probably. So. Seal it off with at least one zip tie. I'm just going to do one, but you know, I like to do 2 if you have them. They don't have to be the red ones. If you have your own, you need those. Red tends to signify dangerous goods. So anyway, you have, basically it looks like that. You have a bag. Each element inside in here is bagged separately and sealed, and then buried in vermiculite, so that if there are any spills, the vermiculite will soak up any spills, prevent that from leaking through the container, through the box, because you got an extra bag around there. But should that bag have a hole in it, the sorbent should absorb it, prevent it from leaking through. Anytime they get a dangerous goods package that's wet on the outside, they will flag that, land the plane, whatever they gotta do. So this does travel by air, and air only. They won't put this on a truck. FedEx wants to make sure that they have this in their possession as short time as possible. They want to basically receive it and drop it off before anything can possibly happen. So it always goes by air, next day air priority, and they don't want to keep it any longer than they have to. All right, so then you're going to fold the top flaps over. There are some instructions that are just for us. We're going to put those under here. Then you have some handling instructions that have to be visible. So the UN compliance number information here, and the handling marking on the top there. You're going to seal up the top exactly the same way you did the bottom. Start with a long piece of tape. Dampen that. Right down the middle, the sides, and then 2 short pieces of tape. Seal up those edges. Again, put that across the top, down the side, tuck it under, crease it, and fold it over like that. I still haven't done the one on the bottom, but this is just a demo, so. Okay. Once you have the box sealed, we need to start labeling it. Okay? So, this one's really easy. It says apply DOT label here. That's going to be your hazard class label. Okay. Technically, you have to have the same labels on opposite sides 180 degrees apart. So, if I have one here, I got to have one on this side. That's the minimum. Also, you don't want to have any labels covering over any markings. So you don't want, even though this is just the ad marking or the name of the manufacturer, make sure that the label does not touch any of this ink here. The exception is where we put this tape. We covered over the marking here. Therefore, this marking cannot be relied on. So we have a label with the same exact handling instruction. So that's going to go right over the top of this marking, and you want to make it so you can tell there wasn't, or you can't really tell there was a marking there, but they'll get the idea. It's not going to be an issue, but you want to make sure that covers up that whole area like so. Okay. What I like to do is I like to go above and beyond. I'll put the same markings on all 4 sides. Okay, so I put it there, make sure I didn't cover up any of the manufacturer's markings. Okay. I'm going to do the same with the hazard class label. I'm going to put that on all 4 sides. Again, you don't have to do all 4 sides, you only have to do 2. They have to be opposite sides. They cannot be adjacent sides. If you do adjacent sides, then you got to do the 3rd side. Okay. Next, we have another handling marking, which is our fragile label. We have glass inside, so anytime you have glass, I usually put that right over here on the opposite corner of the other handling marking or handling label. Sorry. Again, do not cover up or even touch any other markings. I have had FedEx people complain and actually reject a package because a marking was covering up, or a label was covering up a marking. It was just a little corner of it. So I had to peel the label off, stick a new one on. They do get very particular about that. Okay, we have our dangerous goods declaration envelope, which actually, we're going to put it here. It's going to cover up the hazard class label, but that's all right. So in this one, you know, you don't have to include the label over it since we got an envelope covering it up. But okay. Then we have our proper shipping name label. So this label includes the company name, Agility, also includes the shipping name and the technical name of what's inside, as well as the quantity. Usually I put that one here. Actually, I kind of screwed that up, but put that one there and put the fragile one down below. So I'll add that. Again, I'll put that on all 4 sides, even though I only need to do 2. I like to go extra because what happens if something happens to the box, it gets stuck on a conveyor and it rubs the label off or something like that. I like to make sure there's plenty of extras to go around. So I'll put that fragile, put the fragile down here, lower right corner. The most important marking on the box is the UN number, which they included on there for us. It tells us, it's not the UN number of the product, but it tells us the UN certification for the box. 4G, if you remember from your testing, it tells you what the box is made out of, the strength test, all that, and it's rated for 30.8 kilograms. All those good things that they like to know. The UN number for the material that's inside is right here. It's UN 1993. That's on the proper shipping name label. Here on this box, you have a section for proper shipping name and the UN identification number. So 1993 goes in the identification number. Proper shipping name is the bold print on the proper shipping name label. So I just, with a Sharpie, I just write flammable liquid NOS. That's the proper shipping name. Flammable liquid, not otherwise specified. Again, that's on here already, so you don't need to fill this out. I like to do it anyway, just to be redundant. So here's one that we shipped already. Flammable liquid NOS, UN number 1993. And there you have it. Everything we have, everything here is properly packaged for FedEx. You want to make sure that all the flaps are closed flat. If any side is bulging, they will reject the package. It has to be completely closed and sealed. Nothing protruding out of the box, nothing wet. If it's wet, it appears to be leaking and they're going to reject it. So all the sides should be flat. No damage to the box. If there's a tear in the box, they will reject it. So that's why you get 2 boxes. In case something happens in shipping or while you're packaging, you accidentally tear the box, you use the extra. If you don't need the extra, I like to store those on site just in case you do need one in the future. It's good to have. So make sure that the people at the site know this is a special box, not for regular everyday shipping items. With that, we're going to go ahead and go into preparing the documentation using FedEx Ship Manager software, which is what you need to create the shipping label as well as the dangerous goods declaration form.